The technology we interact with every day contains numerous hidden security threats that most people never think about. From the moment you wake up and check your smartphone to when you turn off your smart TV at night, you're surrounded by devices and systems that could potentially compromise your privacy, steal your data, or be used as entry points for cyber attacks. Understanding these hidden threats is important for cybersecurity professionals because they represent the real world attack surface adversaries actually target. Hidden threats in everyday technology have evolved dramatically over the past 2 decades as our lives have become increasingly digitized. What started with simple computer viruses and email scams has expanded into a complex ecosystem of vulnerabilities embedded in everything from household appliances to medical devices. The challenge is not just that these threats exist, but that they're often invisible to users and sometimes even to the manufacturers who create these devices. The ubiquity of these threats means that cybersecurity is no longer just an IT department concern. Every device, every app, every connected system represents potential risk. The interconnected nature of modern technology means that a vulnerability in one device could potentially compromise an entire network. This is particularly concerning as the Internet of Things continues to expand and more aspects of our daily lives become dependent on connected technology. Smartphones represent perhaps the most significant concentration of hidden threats in everyday technology because they've become the central hub for most people's digital lives. Your smartphone contains more personal information than most people keep anywhere else, yet it's also one of the most vulnerable devices that you own. The threats begin with the operating system itself, which contains millions of lines of code that could potentially harbor vulnerabilities. Mobile apps present a particularly insidious threat because they often request permissions that go far beyond what they actually need to function. Many apps request access to your camera, microphone, location data, contacts, and files, even when these permissions aren't necessary for the app's stated purpose. This permission creep means that games, social media apps, and utility apps can potentially spy on you, track your movements, and access sensitive information. Location tracking is one of the most pervasive hidden threats in smartphones. Your device constantly records your location data, creating a detailed profile of your movements, habits, and associations. This data is not just used by the apps you've given permission to. It's often sold to data brokers, shared with advertising networks, and can be accessed by law enforcement agencies. Even when you think you've disabled location services, many devices continue collecting location data through Wi-Fi networks, Bluetooth beacons, and cellular tower triangulation. It's no longer just the people wearing aluminum foil hats that believe in this stuff. The microphone and camera in your smartphone represent constant surveillance risk that most people underestimate. Malicious apps can potentially activate these sensors without visible indication, and even legitimate apps sometimes record more than users realize. Voice assistants are always listening for wake words, which means they're processing everything you say, even when you're not intentionally interacting with them. Smart home devices have introduced an entirely new category of hidden threats into our most private spaces. These devices often have minimal security protection, default passwords that users never change, and firmware that's rarely updated. Smart speakers, security cameras, door locks, thermostats, and even light bulbs can all serve as entry points for attackers to access your home network and potentially spy on your activities. The security cameras that are supposed to protect your home can become tools for voyeurs and criminals when they're poorly secured. Many smart cameras stream video to cloud services where it can potentially be accessed by unauthorized parties. Some cameras have been compromised to create networks of surveillance devices that criminals use to identify homes that are unoccupied for burglary purposes. Smart TVs have become sophisticated surveillance devices that many people don't realize are constantly monitoring their viewing habits, listening to their conversations, and sometimes even watching through built-in cameras. These devices often run full operating systems with internet connectivity, making them targets for the same types of attacks that affect computers and smartphones. use. The data they collect about your viewing habits is extremely valuable to advertisers and can reveal intimate details about your interests, political views, and personal relationships. Automatic content recognition technology in smart TVs can identify everything you watch, even content from external devices like gaming consoles or streaming boxes. This means your TV might be tracking your viewing habits even when you're not using its built-in streaming services. Some smart TVs also use ambient light sensors and microphones to gather additional data about your viewing environment and household activities. Connected vehicles represent a rapidly growing threat surface that combines the mobility of transportation with the vulnerabilities of connected devices. Modern cars contain dozens of computers that control everything from engine management to entertainment systems, and many of these systems are connected to the internet or accessible through Bluetooth or other wireless protocols. Vehicle telematics systems collect enormous amounts of data about your driving habits, locations visited, and vehicle performance. This data is often shared with insurance companies, used for targeted advertising, and stored in databases that could be compromised by attackers. Some vehicle manufacturers have been found to be selling detailed location and driving behavior data to third parties without clear user consent. The increasing integration of smartphones with vehicle systems creates additional attack vectors. When you connect your phone to your car's infotainment system, you're potentially giving the vehicle access to your contacts, messages, and call logs and other personal information. Some vehicle systems store this data locally even after you disconnect your phone, creating privacy risks if the vehicle is sold, serviced, or accessed by unauthorized parties. Wearable devices like fitness trackers and smartwatches present unique hidden threats because they monitor your physical activities and biological data continuously. These devices track your heart rate, sleep patterns, exercise routines, and location with unprecedented precision. That's what you buy them for. The health data they collect is extremely valuable to insurance companies, employers, and marketers, yet it's often protected by weaker privacy policies than medical records. So it's your unprotected medical records, basically. The constant monitoring capabilities of wearable devices means they can reveal information about your health, habits, and activities that you might not intend to share. Fitness trackers have been used to identify secret military installations. By analyzing the running routes of soldiers, and step counting data can reveal details about your work schedule, travel patterns, and even sexual activity. Social media platforms hide their most significant threats behind user-friendly interfaces and convenient features. The hidden threat isn't just the data you deliberately share, but the vast amount of information these platforms infer about you from your behavior, connections, and interactions. Social media companies use sophisticated algorithms to analyze your posts, likes, comments, and browsing patterns to build detailed psychological profiles. They already know what you're going to say. The addictive design of social media platforms is itself a hidden threat that's deliberately engineered to maximize engagement and data collection. Features like infinite scroll, push notifications, and algorithmic content recommendation are designed to keep you using the platform as long as possible, increasing the amount of data they can collect about your preferences and behavior. Shadow profiles represent one of the most insidious hidden threats in social media. These platforms create profiles of people who have never signed up for their service by collecting data from users' contact lists, email communications, and web tracking. This means social media companies may have detailed information about you, even if you've never used their services. Cloud storage services present hidden threats related to data ownership, access, and control. When you store files in cloud services, you're typically granting the service provider broad rights to access, analyze, and potentially monetize your data. Many cloud services use automated scanning to analyze uploaded content for various purposes, including advertising targeting and content moderation. The shared responsibility model of cloud security means that users are responsible for securing their data, even though they don't control the underlying infrastructure. Misconfigurations, weak passwords, and inadequate access controls can expose personal and business data to unauthorized access. Many data breaches involving cloud services result from user configuration errors rather than provider security failures. Email services, even those from reputable providers, present numerous hidden threats that go beyond simple privacy concerns. concerns. Email providers routinely scan message content for advertising purposes, security threats, and compliance requirements. This scanning creates detailed profiles of your communication, relationships, and interests that could potentially be accessed by government agencies or exposed in data breaches. Email tracking pixels and read receipts allow senders to monitor when and where you open emails, how long you spend reading them, and what devices you use. This information is often collected by marketing companies and data brokers to build profiles of your online behavior and preferences. Public Wi-Fi networks represent some of the most dangerous hidden threats in everyday technology because they can intercept all of your internet traffic and expose sensitive information. Even networks that appear secure can be compromised or set up specifically to steal data from unsuspecting users. Evil twin attacks involve setting up fake Wi-Fi networks that mimic legitimate ones to trick users into connecting. The convenience of automatic Wi-Fi connection features means your devices may connect to potentially dangerous networks without your knowledge. Your device broadcasts information about previously connected networks, which can be used to identify you and track your movement across different locations. Banking and financial apps, while generally more secure than other applications, still contain hidden threats related to data collection and sharing. Financial institutions collect detailed information about your spending habits, location data from transaction locations, and behavioral data from how you use their apps. This information is often shared with third-party marketing companies and data aggregators. The increasing use of biometric authentication in financial apps creates a new privacy risk because biometric data is immutable and extremely sensitive. If biometric data is compromised, you can't simply change it like you would a password. Some financial apps store biometric data locally, while others transmit it to cloud services, creating different risk profiles. Online shopping platforms and e-commerce sites track far more than just your purchases. They monitor your browsing behavior, search queries, abandoned shopping carts, and price sensitivity to build detailed profiles of your interests and financial capabilities. This information is used for dynamic pricing, targeted advertising, and can be sold to data brokers. The hidden threat in e-commerce extends to supply chain security, where counterfeit or compromised products can be sold through legitimate platforms. This is particularly concerning for technology products like chargers, cables, and electronic devices that could contain malicious hardware or software. Gaming platforms and devices present unique hidden threats because they combine entertainment with social interaction and financial transactions. Gaming platforms collect detailed behavioral data about your playing habits, skill levels, and social interactions. This data can reveal information about your schedule, stress levels, and personality traits. In-game purchases and virtual economies create opportunities for financial fraud and money laundering. Gaming platforms often store payment information and have access to valuable virtual assets that can be targeted by criminals. The social aspects of gaming also create opportunities for social engineering attacks and exploitation of younger users. The Internet of Things has expanded the attack surface of everyday technology to include devices that people don't typically think of as computers. Smart appliances like refrigerators, washing machines, and coffee makers often have internet connectivity and can be compromised to access home networks or participate in botnets for distributed attacks. These IoT devices often have minimal security features, hard-coded passwords, and firmware that is never updated. They can be used as stepping stones to access more valuable targets on the same network, such as computers containing sensitive business or personal data. Medical devices and health monitoring tools present especially serious hidden threats because they deal with life-critical functions and extremely sensitive health information. Connected medical devices can be targeted by attackers seeking to disrupt medical care or steal health data for insurance, fraud, or blackmail purposes. The regulatory environment for medical device security is still evolving, and many devices currently in use have significant security vulnerabilities. Pacemakers, insulin pumps, and other implanted devices have been demonstrated to be vulnerable to wireless attacks that could potentially harm patients. Understanding and mitigating these hidden threats requires a combination of technical knowledge, user awareness, and systematic security practices. For cybersecurity professionals, this means staying informed about emerging threats in consumer technology, understanding the interconnected nature of modern device ecosystem, and developing strategies that account for the reality that users will continue to adopt new technologies regardless of security concerns. The key to addressing hidden threats in everyday technology is developing security practices that work with human behavior rather than against it. This includes designing systems that are secure by default, providing clear and actionable privacy controls, and educating users about risks without creating fear or confusion that leads to poor security decisions. If you want to develop expertise in identifying and mitigating hidden threats in everyday technology, several approaches can help you build your knowledge and skills. Technical research involves studying vulnerability disclosures, security research papers, and penetration testing reports that reveal how everyday devices are actually being compromised. Privacy and security auditing tools can help you understand what data your own devices are collecting and sharing. Professional development opportunities include security conferences that focus on IoT security, mobile security, and privacy engineering. Hands-on experience with security testing tools and techniques helps you understand how these threats are discovered and exploited in practice.